I got lost for words. I didn't know what to say.
Welcome to the Herd, and today we're the Herd, you're hearing us. And on this episode, we have a very special guest, which I like to introduce, who is Victoria Orevkova. And I'll let her introduce herself and all of her amazing experiences. So, Victoria.
Hi, thanks so much for inviting me. I am really honored, and I gotta say, you guys are doing a great job with TMG this year
Thank
with
you.
your social media and your events, and I'm really excited to see where you guys goes next. I am an international student. I am from Russia. I've been to England for my high school, and then I applied to University of Toronto, and I thought, hey, that's a really cool co-op program that we have here.
Hmm.
So I came to Canada and I immediately knew I wanted to specialize specifically in marketing. So that's what I did. I had two co ops. I didn't do my third one because I wanted to graduate earlier, both of which were in digital marketing. For the last 2 years of university, though, I still wanted to get more experience in marketing. So what really helped was doing freelancing, which essentially meant I did marketing work, but with clients as an independent contractor. That really helped me kind of keep studying, but as a part time, I would also do marketing work, mostly social media. And eventually, I ended up graduating in November. I got my diploma, and now I'm hired at Accenture as an analyst. Most of my role is marketing analytics. So we analyze social media
Yeah.
performance, all the KPIs and all the stuff like that, which I have just started a couple of weeks ago. But it seems pretty interesting so far, and I'm excited.
And how are your first couple of weeks been so far?
It's very different to freelancing because when you work with a very small business or with a startup, usually what
Hmm.
happens is you join the team and you immediately start working because there's very little to study. The team is very small. You know what
Yeah.
everyone is doing, you know what you're supposed to be doing. So you sort of dive into work. But when you're joining a big corporate environment, usually the first 2 weeks is training, getting to know the job, getting
Yeah.
access, your passwords that don't actually match, and then you have to talk to IT about figuring it all out. But I think we've already started doing some work. I've started gathering data, social media, and organizing it into Excel tables and giving
Hmm.
those tables to clients. So far it's been slow but interesting, and we're just easing into it.
Yeah, and I can tell you have a lot of marketing experience. So let's start off with the first question. So with all those experiences such as digital marketing and social media, where did you develop your passion of marketing from?
I feel like it goes back to high school.
Yeah.
I initially thought that I am very much into psychology. I'm still into psychology, but I thought that this would be my major. But then I
Hmm.
was also interested in people in general, in working with people and teams. And I was also into business, right? So I feel like
Yeah.
marketing is something that connected psychology because there's a lot of consumer psychology. There's a reason we take those courses in university and business as well. So it brought all those interests together, and I now feel like it was a right choice.
Incorporating like psychology and business, which is really cool. I like that. You worked as a freelancer for 2 years, and through your passion for social media, could you explain what you did? Because it looked like you were getting experience while you were studying, which must have been difficult.
Freelancing was really cool, to be honest, because as you said, it was like a side hustle as I was studying. And I feel like the first time that I ever thought about doing this was in the first year of university. I started diving into different social media courses because I thought social media was really interesting to learn, and we don't have that in the university. So that was my
Hmm.
extracurricular activity. So I was taking different courses, and a lot of times they would, in those courses, they would talk about, oh, as you're working with your client and stuff like that. And I thought, hey, it would be really cool if I could also work with, a client. But then those things didn't happen till like the third year of university. I had my co-op and then the second co-op. But then the more time went by, the more I've learned and the more I talked about, my experience. Essentially, I ended up working with a client as an independent contractor, and that was
Yeah.
really interesting. In terms of what I did, that was mostly social media management, which essentially means I have Well, in my particular case, I was creating content strategy. I was doing social media banners and graphics. I had some experience with Photoshop and InDesign
Hmm.
and stuff like that, but for my freelancing work, I mostly used Canva, to be honest, because it works and
Yeah.
my projects weren't that complicated graphically. So, yeah, I've created social media banners and copy, which is essentially what marketers say when they mean text, right? So there is
Hmm.
website copy and email copy and social media copy. And um, so, yeah, I had to work on a variety of things, but all of them were connected to social media in some way or another.
Yeah, and it must have been, was it hard doing freelancing and studying at the same time?
It wasn't that bad because when you are working with a client, you do let them know how free you are, right? So
Yeah.
if I had only 10 hours per week, my client knew about that, and if they are happy with that initially, then they wouldn't be unhappy about this later. Sometimes there were weeks that I would spend 15 to 20 hours, but only if
Hmm.
I was available, right? Because my clients at the moment knew that I was a student. So they were very sweet and understanding. And in that case, I was pretty lucky. So it wasn't that bad.
I couldn't imagine doing like freelancing on the side and then learning about all those courses and everything about just marketing in general on your own.
But it works if you do have that free time. If you have a co-op program to support you, then you might not feel like you need it because you do have like 3 internships, or I don't know, like 2 long internships where you can get a lot of experience. But if
Hmm.
you do have those 10 hours and you're looking to get some actually relevant experience to marketing, then I feel like it's a good thing to try out at least.
So, how did you get these opportunities while you were studying?
There's lots of ways that you can get clients for, well, even social media marketing or any other skill that you have. But for
Hmm.
me personally, it was the fact that I would always talk about what I'm interested in and what I'm learning about. So it was the first time I ever got a client was actually in one of the events at UTSC. It was women in entrepreneurship, which didn't really have much to do with marketing itself. But
Yeah.
as we were networking and talking, to each other, I would talk about the fact that, yeah, I am a marketer and that's who I want to be, and these
Hmm.
are the things that I'm learning right now, and all of this was very genuine. I didn't force myself to say any of that, but eventually that made me meet a person who was working with a client,
Hmm.
and that client was looking for a social media marketer to join the team, and they referred me to that client, right? So it was
Oh
simply
yeah,
because
that's
of the
cool.
fact that, yeah, it was because I was talking about my interest. And then,
Yeah.
yeah, and that wasn't the only thing that helped. The other thing that really helped was when we had those class introductions, right? Let's say I'm taking a class at UTSC, and the professor would ask you to talk about
Hmm.
who you are, what program you're in, and that was surprisingly one of the ways that I got to work with startups at UTSC, right? I talked about the fact that, what I'm specializing in and what I'm looking for in terms of marketing, like growing myself in that area. So that one of my classmates who had a startup at UTSC ended up reaching out to me on Instagram saying, Victoria, you always post on your stories about courses that you're taking, and I've heard you talk passionately about marketing in class. Would you be mind helping me with my social media strategy for my startup? And I was like, sure, why not? And
Yeah.
then after we were done, I said, hey, you know what? If you want to refer me to other friends of yours or family of yours that have a business that needs some help with social media marketing, or startups at UTSC that might, make use of my skills, then feel free to do so. And that's how other startups started reaching out to me. So um, there's lots of ways that you could do that, but that was mine, which is why I say if you want to get opportunities working with clients, it's really up to you to start making moves and
Yeah.
Putting yourself out there.
Yeah, because people definitely are a little scared to share their interests. The fact that you did, and like, right, there were so many opportunities right around you. You never presented yourself, you wouldn't have gotten them.
Networking pays off, actually. It turns out it does.
So you did all this social media marketing. Can you provide any tips, like just on social media marketing in general?
It's quite hard to summarize in a minute or two the tips for social media marketing in general, but I'd say if you're looking for a direction to go into, the right way to approach this would be looking into courses that would cover things that you're interested in, because some people are really good at graphic design, right? But we don't have graphic design courses. So if you do that, that could be some way, that could be some way that you could grow, because creating graphics for social media is an integral part, right? Because
Yeah.
a lot of businesses, don't rely on photos only. They also want you to do something with like Canva or Photoshop. Or let's say if you're really not good with visuals, like essays were your thing, then
Yeah.
looking into copywriting and getting that certificate would also be something that could both keep you interested because you're already somewhat good at it, but also give you some sort of like credential, right, to show the fact that you are ready to write specifically copies for businesses. So I feel
Hmm.
like that really does help.
Yeah, because school doesn't teach you everything. Like some things you have to do on your own and learn from co-op and experience, or just in general, kind of search for these things.
School does give you a
A
good
lot.
idea of, yeah, it gives you a good idea of what marketing is, and you might
Yeah.
not realize it early on, but overall those principles in marketing are the same principles that apply to social media marketing, right? We covered
Hmm.
nothing about social in university, but we covered things like audience segmentation, right? What is
Yeah.
the tone of voice, right? What is
Yeah.
brand voice? All of these basic principles, they still apply no matter what, stream of marketing that you pick. You still need to be mindful of like audiences and, brand voice. And it definitely, university definitely does give you a good breakdown of like fundamental theory. What you're going to be talking about is how to implement all of that to an
Hmm.
actual case, right? How do you implement, how do you keep the tone of voice in your social media copy, right? How do you make your band sound a certain way, right? And you need certain courses or, certain experience to help you practice those things.
You created your own club at UTSC called The Gate, which gained
Yeah.
700 followers in 2 months. So, can you just explain what The Gate is for people that don't know, and how you managed to get such exponential growth?
The Gate is essentially a student association for those who are interested in entrepreneurship and innovation, right? So the Gate was supposed to be this symbolic meaning that you come to the gate and enter the entrepreneurship and innovation world. Well, this was our vision essentially.
Hmm.
We did events that would help students connect with startups or hear from startups in terms of what they did, why they succeeded or what they're doing to succeed. And that was really interesting. We collaborated with the Hub also, which is our,
Hmm.
how like management has the Bridge, which
Yeah.
is entrepreneurship hub for management students. But
Yeah.
the Hub of UTSC is for all the departments. We had like whole women in entrepreneurship series where it wasn't just a networking event, it was also lectures and stuff. So yeah, the Gate did events that would help students get a better idea of entrepreneurship and how it
Yeah.
all works and point them into the right direction, and it was really fun. And in terms of how we grew it, well, we had a vision that we would essentially connect students from the whole UTSC campus um,
Hmm.
to entrepreneurship. We wanted to find those who are interested. And the way it works in the university is unfortunately not like in actual business, right? Because students, well, they're busy and they're tired,
Hmm.
they're
Yeah.
sad most of the time. And we essentially decided to do what works for any club of UTSC, which is, essentially knocking on people's doors. We were following whoever was following Student Union and any other, big page on social media that has followers from all the departments. And that's what we did. And as soon as students would see that we followed them, they would tap on our name, and then it was up to them to decide whether they wanted to follow us. And I know a lot of lots of marketing departments of student clubs look down on that because they feel like it's not the right way to approach this. But then what is, right? You don't have,
Yeah.
there's not much of organic growth on Instagram. We would split the days where we would follow people, and then every day there would be a certain person responsible for following everyone, and that worked. We wanted to provide something that was useful to students, and we wanted those students who would be potentially interested to see us, and we
Hmm.
achieved that.
It looked
And
like it. It's 700 followers in 2 months. It's really good. What was the main lesson you gained from all that? From knocking on people's doors, starting the club, connecting everyone?
starting your own club felt very different to being a part of the club,
Hmm.
because I did have 2 years of being a corporate relations associate and then vice president of events in other clubs. And when you are actually starting your club, I feel like it's very different because as a president and as a founder, you feel like it's your baby, right? You're obsessed with it, right? You want to see it
Yeah.
succeed, and you feel like whoever you want to join your club should also be the type of person that is obsessed with it and that wants to succeed. But it doesn't work like that in real life, because students
Yeah.
join your club because they are maybe interested in putting something on their resume. Just like in business, even though clubs are not actual business, they still have a lot to resemble, right? And essentially, you have a team of people that you need to somehow keep motivated and interested in doing certain work. And you also need to
Hmm.
figure out how to communicate your vision to people so that they understand it and they feel like they're on board and they're happy with it. And I feel like that was a big learning point for me and my co-president and for us in general. And that reminds me of marketing as well, because even for the same type of product, people buy it for different things, but for different reasons, I mean.
Hmm.
And you need to be able to know how to cater to that.
What about for the people that, like they didn't have that vision, that were not on the same page as you? How did you deal with that or manage them?
It depends whether it was a problem that I could fix, right? So
Hmm.
let's say for those people that joined because they wanted to be a part of the team, what was crucial is that we'd have team socials, right?
Yeah.
And the that's something that sometimes clubs struggle with because they lack the sense of community and they rarely do socials, and when they do, not everyone shows up. So it's really difficult to make friends despite of the fact that you are working on the same project voluntarily, unpaid.
Yeah.
Like, you have to have a lot of faith in the process to still be in the club, right?
Yeah.
We try to do socials. It's
Yeah.
tough because schedules are very different for everyone, but yeah. And for people that wanted to work on their resumes, what we did was we had trainings. We tried our best essentially to find some sort of compromise to figure out how we
Yeah.
can,
Like cater to
keep the
everyone.
team happy. Yeah, yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
How many times did you do a social? Would you say in like a month or?
Look, when we started a club, we were very ambitious. We were sure that we would have meetings every 2 weeks, that we would have socials once a month, but then you are slapped in the face with reality and you
Yeah.
barely struggle to do a social once a semester. And that's what
Yeah.
I feel like. If you talk to people in clubs, they will say that they are experiencing the exact same thing.
Yep. We've experienced the same thing as well. It's been everyone
Right?
just
It's
has
hard.
so when you have so many people, it's just hard to get everyone together like
Yeah.
at once. It's crazy.
And then if it's like 5 people, you don't end up going anywhere.
And what about if you couldn't cater to someone? Did that ever happen to you?
Even if you're a founder of the club, even if you're a president, that also means you're still a student who also
Yeah.
might have part-time work, right? So everyone's really understanding of the fact that you're busy and sometimes things don't work out. And I was very lucky that my team generally was really sweet and understanding. So I was really lucky with who I hired, and I think we had a really good time together. So when things didn't work out, they didn't work out, and we tried to
Hmm.
see how we could make up for it.
So that was your past experience. So what are your plans for your future career since you just graduated? And how will the past experiences like the gate help you?
Well, I feel like when you're getting all sorts of different experiences, you can't always see how it's going to benefit you long term.
Yeah.
um I was with MTA for 2 years, and then with the gate I was working with it for 1 year, and then I had freelancing experience and two co-ops. And sometimes it did feel like I don't understand why exactly I'm doing what I'm doing, but now it seems pretty clear to me that okay, well, I've had some I had some experience with event management, which is what clubs are all about. And then I had
Hmm.
experience with content creation and management and brainstorming content ideas, which was my co ops and my freelancing experience and my gate experience before we hired marketing team. I had to figure a lot of things out on my own. And now I am in analytics. I want to know how to excite the customers through content, but also how to measure their excitement and their willingness to pay and everything through analytics, and based on that create strategy, right, to help businesses generate income, sell their product or sell their service. And this is essentially the dream, right? I want to
Yeah.
be someone who knows how to do strategy with intention, and so far I'm on the path to that, and I'm very excited for the future. So talk to me in a couple of years and we'll see where I ended up being, but it's definitely going to be interesting.
So, what do you think is the overall importance of marketing, and what is your biggest takeaway?
Well, the importance of marketing is something that you just can't deny. And the reason I say can't deny is because one of the most annoying things that I ever hear about marketing is that it's annoying. And that really brings me back to that one time in high school where I was talking to a economics teacher, and we had this whole class gathering where she would ask us what we wanted to do for a living, right? So where did we want to grow career wise? And it was my turn, and I said, well, I want to be a marketer. I think it's really interesting. She looks at me point blank, asks me, oh, so you want to be that person that sells people stuff that they don't need? I got lost for words. I didn't know what to say because it seems so counterintuitive that someone who is in economics, right, which is really close to business in general,
Yeah.
would say something like that, because marketing is the exact opposite of that, right? Marketing is about bringing people that have certain needs, right? They have needs, they have wants, desires, pains, whatever it is,
Hmm.
they have a problem and they need a solution, whether it's a product or a service, right? And then there's a business that provides this product of and or service, right? So the marketer's job is to connect these two things together, right? They
Hmm.
connect people that want to buy and want to sell, and as the end result, everyone's happy, right? The end result should be mutual satisfaction between someone who sells and someone who buys. And then there's a long-term relationship where they always buy from that company, and then they always sell to that customer and many other customers. Well, you got my point. I feel
Yeah.
I don't want to be the marketer that um, makes customers and clients feel like something is sold to them. I
Hmm.
want to be able to take any business and figure out a way to communicate its value to the customer so that they don't feel like they're being sold to, but they feel like, hey, there is a problem, I need a solution, there it is, and they're excited to buy.
Definitely
Well,
get that
thank
goal.
you.
You'll definitely get there.
that's,
You can tell.
that's the
With that being said, I just want to thank you again, Victoria, for coming on to the show.
Thanks so much for inviting me. It was such a pleasure talking to you.
Thank
And
you.
I just feel like marketing is a field where you can shine depending on your skills, whether it's analytics or whether it's graphic design or writing text or strategy. And if you want to succeed in one of those areas, you definitely can focus on your strengths rather than try to get into everything. If students have any questions regarding any of my experience or seek someone to talk to, I am more than happy to talk, so please feel free to reach out on Instagram or LinkedIn. I'm always happy to talk.
And I suggest you do because this right here is probably just the surface of what Victoria knows. And with that being said, we're the herd and you're hearing us. And we'll see you next episode.